Nearly 2 months after the FBI raided election offices in Georgia, the case went before a judge Friday in a key hearing. Fulton County officials are urging a federal judge to force the Justice Department to return 2020 election ballots it seized during the search. Lawyers for the county argue it was a violation of the Fourth Amendment. But the DOJ claims Fulton County is disrupting a federal investigation into irregularities during the 2020 presidential election. And we should note, multiple investigations have found no evidence of widespread fraud in the state that would have impacted the election results. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News correspondent Skyler Henry. He joins us now from Atlanta. Skyler, good to have you on. So break this down. You were in court. What happened there today?
Yeah, I think it's important to reiterate, too, Tom, that they were overseen by Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and the Republican governor here in the state of Georgia, Brian Kemp, all of whom saying that the 2020 election results were not only legitimate, but perhaps were the most efficient processes that have happened in the state's history, so much so that they have time and again stood by these results despite the legal challenges from the Trump administration dating back to 2020. In court today, at the crux of the argument, the Fulton County legal team essentially made the argument that the FBI affidavit that was filed justifying the seizure of those documents was misleading in that several hundred pages of what has been uncovered in the years since were left out of it, misconstruing, so to speak, the results of the 2020 election, and in Fulton County attorneys' words, following along with narratives that have been pushed by not only the president, but also those who felt as if the results of that election were rigged, if not stolen. The FBI, the DOJ, they have maintained and are looking into claims that the treatment of the election records as a whole were perhaps mishandled, and are also looking into the procurement, the casting, and also the tabulation of possible election records back in 2020 altogether. Now, we heard from the Fulton County chair earlier today, maybe about an hour or so ago, who described today as a victory in that this has gotten to this point, saying that, yes, obviously he is concerned at the fact that these records were not only taken from the election facility here in Fulton County, but the fact that they are having their due process in court. We should point out, Tom, that there's still very much a long way to go in this process. We don't anticipate any sort of ruling happening in the next couple of days in terms of what this judge has to decipher and deal with. But he does have a lot of steps that he has to take and consider, namely, what happens to those election records altogether? What has the FBI done with them? What are the plans for them, as Fulton County officials have said that they want this back time and again? The second point of this is them saying that they are concerned about the sensitive data that is a part of these election records and what could potentially happen to that information outside of the scope of this criminal investigation altogether. So a lot of moving parts from that aspect. I think this is just the latest in the saga and the series of false claims, so to speak, by the president and those who support him in terms of surrounding the 2020 election results altogether.
Yeah, certainly so much to follow there. Skyler Henry breaking it all down for us from Atlanta. Skyler, we appreciate your time. Thank you.